Welcome to my channel. Now that was a clip from the OJs. Now if you saw the clip, that means YouTube let it go through. If not, I was flagged. This is the story of the OJs. The OJs are an American R&B group from Canton, Ohio, formed in 1958 and originally consisting of Eddie LeVert, Walter Lee Williams, William Powell, Bobby Macy, and Bill Iles. They made their first chart appearance with the minor hit Lonely Drifter in 1963, but reached their greatest level of success once Gamble and Huff, a team of producers and songwriters, signed them to their Philadelphia international label in 1972. With Gamble and Huff, the OJs, now a trio after the departure of Bill Iles and Bobby Macy, emerged at the forefront of Philadelphia soul with Backstabbers in 1972 and topped the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 the following year with Love Train. Several other U.S. R&B hits followed, and the OJs were inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 2004, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2005, and the R&B Music Hall of Fame in 2013. The group formed in Ohio while its members were attending Canton McKinley High School, originally known as the Mascots and then the Triumphs. The Friends began recording with Miracles in 1961, which was a moderate hit in the Cleveland area. In 1963, they took the name The OJs in tribute to Cleveland radio DJ Eddie O.J., who was part of the powerful management team of Frankie Crocker, Herb Hamlet, and O.J. In 1963, the OJs released Lonely Drifter, their national chart hit on the Billboard Hot 100, peaking at number 93. Their debut album, released shortly after, was Coming Through. In the early 1960s, member Frank, aka Frankie Little Jr., joined the group as a guitarist and songwriter. He worked with lead vocalist Eddie LeVert, assisting with some of the writing for the group, including 1964's Do the Jerk, 1966 Pretty Words, and 1967's Oh How You Hurt Me. He's also credited with vocals on 1962's Down at the Corner. According to Walter Williams, Frankie was a guitarist and songwriter in the very early days of the OJs. He came with us when we first ventured out of Cleveland and traveled to Los Angeles, but he also was in love with a woman in Cleveland that he missed so much that he soon returned to Cleveland after a short amount of time. In 2021, human remains were discovered in a 1982 at Twinsburg, Ohio, and were identified as those of Frankie Little. Throughout the 1960s, the group continued to chart with minor hits such as Lipstick Traces, Standing for Love, Stand Tall, Let It All Out, among others. However, while they issued dozens of singles throughout the decade, they never hit the U.S. Top 40, although Lipstick Traces reached number 19 in Canada. On the R&B chart, the OJs were somewhat more prominent, but their only top 10 R&B single prior to 1972 was 1968's I'll Be Sweeter Tomorrow. In spite of their success as a touring group and on the R&B chart, the group had been considering quitting the music business in 1972. Around that time, original members Bill Iles and Bobby Macy departed, leaving the group a trio. The remaining original members, Eddie LeVert, William Powell, and Walter Lee Williams, continued recording together, and Gamble and Huff, a team with whom the OJs had been working for several years with, signed them to their label. Suddenly, the OJs released their first million-seller, Backstabbers, from the album of the same name. This album produced several more hit singles, including 992 Argument, Sunshine, Time to Get Down, and the number one pop smash Love Train. During the remainder of the 1970s, the OJs continued to release hit singles, including Put Your Hands Together, that reached number 10 on the pop chart. For the Love of Money reached number 9 on the pop chart. Give the People What They Want, Let Me Make Love to You, I Love Music reached number 5 on the pop chart. Living for the Weekend, Message in Our Music, and Darlin Darlin Baby. Original member William Powell passed away of cancer in 1977 at the age of 35. After adding Sammy Strain of Little Anthony in the Imperials, the OJs continued to record, though with limited success. In 1978, the group released Used to Be My Girl, which was their final top 5 hit. Though they continued placing songs on the R&B charts throughout the 80s, the OJ's success was not confined to the United States, as they also logged 9 hit singles in the UK between 1972 and 1983, including 4 tracks that reached the top 40 on the UK singles chart. Their 1987 album, Let Me Touch You, was a breakthrough of sorts and included the number 1 R&B hit, Loving You. Though they continued charting on the R&B charts in the late 80s and early 90s, the OJs never again achieved pop success. In 1992, Sammy Strain left the group and returned to the Imperials. Later in the 90s, the group did little recording, though they remained a popular live draw. Their latest album was Imagination, released in 2005. In 2003, the trio co-starred in the film The Fighting Temptations, which starred Cuba Gooding Jr. and Beyonce. In the film, they played three barbers with incredible vocal harmony who joined the local church choir to help out the film. In 2005, the OJs were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Original members Eddie LeVert, Walter Lee Williams, and Bobby Macy, posthumously William Powell, were all inducted. In a note of controversy, Sammy Strain was also inducted with the group, while original member Bill Iles was not. Sammy Strain is one of the few artists in popular music history who is a double Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, with the OJs in 2005 and with Little Anthony and the Imperials in 2009. On February 23, 2007, Radio Canada's website reported that Canadian industry minister Jim Prentice had used the song For the Love of Money without the group's permission during a political event. A faux pas, since Prentice is responsible for the application of the Copyright Act in Canada, also reported that Prentice has since been contacted by the attorneys for both the OJs and Warner Chappell Music. On June 28, 2009, at the 2009 BET Awards show in the Shrine Auditorium, the OJs were honored with BET's 2009 Lifetime Achievement Award. Tevin Campbell, Trey Songz, Tyrese Gibson, and Johnny Gill performed a medley of the group songs, followed by the presentation of the award by Don Cornelius. The group reminisced, joked with the audience, and accepted their award before performing renditions of their hit songs. On October 30, 2010, the group performed at Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert's rally to restore sanity and/or fear in Washington, D.C. In Cleveland, Ohio, on August 17, 2013, the OJs were inducted into the National R&B Hall of Fame. The OJs are also two-time Grammy Hall of Fame inductees for their songs Love Train, inducted in 2006, and For the Love of Money, that was inducted in 2016. Bill Iles was born William Carvin Iles II in McAdenville, North Carolina, who passed away on March 25, 2009 at the age of 78. The OJs have retired from the music business and just sitting back, chilling, and enjoying life. Okay, y'all, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.